Good evening, everyone. It's Sunday and time for a new episode of Record Collecting with the Quill. Today we're talking B-sides. Yes, there's tons of cool stuff to be found on the flip side of whatever famous single you have. And I always enjoyed collecting B-sides and finding rare cover tunes or stuff that they didn't make famous albums. So I've been wading through my collection and found some really cool stuff for you to explore. But before we start, you know the drill. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that little notice bell as well. And make sure you share with your friends. Well, as I said, collecting B-sides is really cool. With some artists, there's tons to be found, and some are really generous when it comes to putting out cool stuff on for singles. Some artists, other artists, rarely do anything cool at all. Kiss comes to mind. There's just a handful of cool stuff through all of their whole career. But with other artists, there's, as I said, tons of cool stuff. And starting out, the first one that made me aware of that there was cool stuff to be found is this single, the Bruce Springsteen Born in the USA single. I got it in '84 and I really enjoyed that track, and I got the album shortly afterwards and realized that the B-side was not on the album. And I must say, when I bought the single, I didn't really enjoy the B-side that much because it was quite different from the bombastic anthem that Born in the USA is. But nowadays I really enjoy it, and I think it's a really cool single. It's called Shut Out the Light, and it's more or less, I mean, you know the whole story about Born in the USA being written about a Vietnam veteran coming home, and Shut Out the Light tells more or less the same story, but in a more mellower way. And I can see why he didn't make the Born in the USA album, but the track would have fitted Nebraska much better. But it's nonetheless, it's really cool as lights and shades. Sort of, I can see why Bruce decided to put it as a B-side for this single. Really cool. I believe it's available on the Tracks box set if you want to hear it. Next one, Bon Jovi in their prime. And the New Jersey sessions was really fruitful, and they recorded tons of stuff. And I believe the New Jersey album was even they was toying around with doing a double album. They didn't, but they were really creative and wrote tons of stuff. And this is the Living in Sin single, and there's a cool B-side called Love Is War. That's I really enjoy. I think it's really great. It has the typical Bon Jovi choruses, and I can see why he didn't make the album because there's tons of cool stuff on it, but it's still really enjoyable, and I think it's available on some extended version of New Jersey as well if you haven't heard it. But it's a cool chorus to it, which I really enjoy. Next one is a band I'm rambling about every now and then, which I really enjoy. Grand Funk Railroad, and this is kind of a unique single. It's called I'm So True. It's from the last album they recorded, What's Funk, and it has a B-side called Let It Happen that hasn't been re-released anywhere else, not on any reissues. It was only ever released on a promo single in Japan, and this is the one. And I really enjoy that track, Let It Happen. It's like Grand Funk in their prime in the 70s. Really strong chorus, some great vocals as well from Mark Farner. Kind of a little bit difficult to find, but and I only managed to find a bad transfer on YouTube of it. So, but it's worth shelling out the money to buy this one because I think it's a really cool Grand Funk Railroad track. Next one, W.A.S.P. This is the single for Blind in Texas from the album The Last Command. And I bought that album when it came out, and I really enjoyed it. And I bought the single as well, and it has a really cool beat track called Savage, which I think this is one of those cases where when you wonder why it didn't make the album, because I think there's tracks on The Last Command that's way worse than the Savage track. It's on the reissues of The Last Command now, so you can hear it. But I think the album would have benefited from it being on the album in the first place. But anyway, really cool. Savage. Next one, the band I believe is the king of doing cool stuff for B-sides. They are the masters, Iron Maiden. They always put something cool on B-sides, both on 7 inches and 12 inches. Either live recordings or cover versions they've recorded of their own favorite tracks, or leftovers from the album sessions. And this is my favorite one. The track is called Reach Out, and it's kind of unique since it has Adrian Smith on lead vocals and not Bruce Dickinson. It's a cover tune, but I really enjoy Adrian's voice, and it's really just a really good track. But since it is a cover version, it was not put on the Somewhere in Time album, and I can see why, but it's still a really enjoyable track. Next one, I was kind of debating with myself if I should bring this up or not, but I decided to do it just for the fun of it. This is the single from the Gillan Glover album. Ian Gillan and Roger Glover from Deep Purple made an album, I believe, in '88 together, just for the fun of it. And the single is called She Took My Breath Away, and it has a B-side not available on the album called Cayman Island. And the fun thing with it, and why I decided to bring it up, is if you want to hear Ian Gillan sing reggae music, then you should listen to this one. The track is really catchy, and it's just them goofing around in the studio, I guess, but it's still kind of fun to hear Ian Gillan in a totally different element than we're used to. And speaking of Ian Gillan and Roger Glover, this is also a really cool B-side, and this is the Strange Kind of Woman single, and it has a great track called I'm Alone on the B-side. Wasn't available on any albums, but I think it's out now on some of the Deep Purple reissues. Really strong track, a fast track, really great playing, and it's Deep Purple in their prime, so it has to be good, hasn't it? Since it's Deep Purple and since it's them in their prime. Great track, I'm Alone. Always been a big fan of that one. Next one is another one of those mysteries that why didn't it make the album. This is the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers single Don't Come Around Here No More from the Southern Accents album. And it has a B-side called Trailer that I think is fantastic. And there's stuff on Southern Accents that I think it's way worse than the Trailer track. But sometimes even geniuses make bad choices, and I guess this is one of those exceptions, I guess, to Tom Petty having a great career. I think he realized his mistake later on, because he re-recorded the Trailer track for his Mudcrutch project. The second album has a re-recording of it, but here you have the full Heartbreaker version of it. I believe this is a US pressing of the single, but a great Tom Petty track from his prime that it's kind of hard to find. I think you can find it on YouTube actually, but finding the single. And next one, another band that isn't that generous with B-sides, but there's a few cool exceptions. Black Sabbath, and this is the track Headless Cross, and on the B-side you have a really cool track called Cloak and Dagger, which I really enjoy, and I also one of those cases where I can't see why they didn't put it on the album. I prefer this track much more to, say, Black Moon, for instance. As I said, Black Sabbath doesn't have that much cool B-side material. A couple of live recordings, but they have a really cool 12-inch for The Shining, which I actually have in my collection, but I didn't put it out. I did bring it out, but there you have two really cool tracks with earlier recording of Black Moon. that was recorded later on for Headless Cross as well, and another track as well. But this one I really enjoy, and I really enjoy the Tony Martin era with Black Sabbath. Kind of forgotten now, but I heard this. Tony is thinking about reissuing these sometime down the line here, so they are really great too. Unfortunately, they're not available on Spotify right now, but you can always find them on YouTube, I guess. But this is my last pick for cool B-side, Black Sabbath, Cloak and Dagger from the Headless Cross single. And speaking of B-sides and leftover tracks, we're releasing a new album with QUILL in January called Live, New, Borrowed and Blue. And we've also been digging in our vault here during the Corona crisis and found some really cool stuff. Some leftover tracks from the Earthrise sessions, some old cover tunes were recorded in the late 90s as well. It hasn't been available for a long time. And also a couple of live tracks from the Sweden Rock Festival, our appearance at Sweden Rock in 2000 and what is it now? 19, yes. So that is being released in January, and I actually been listening to the tracks and I really enjoy it. It's a cool mix before we start recording the next album sometime early next year, I believe. Also did a really great show with Evergrey in Gothenburg this Friday, and we're doing some more shows here later on in a couple of weeks. So it was really great seeing a full audience again. It's been way too long. Anyway, I'm rambling again now, but I want to hear what are your favorite B-sides. Let me know in the comment section, and I will put the tracks that are available on Spotify. I will put in the Spotify playlist. You find the link below, and for the others, seek on YouTube and you will find most of them. But yeah, also I forgot, make sure you follow us on social media as well. It's the QUILL Sweden, the QUILL Sweden on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Well, that's it for now. See you all again next Sunday with a new subject. I have no idea what I would talk about, but I seem to always find something. Anyway, thanks for now. Bye.